Hello, everyone. This is Gail Estella, and welcome to Gail Estella Survival Podcast. Today, I decided to do something different. As many of you know, that my daughter, Aja McCullough, passed on June the 29th, 2017. And I thought about what better way than to honor her than to have mothers on here that have lost their children or child, and we're going to share our grief stories with you. I would like to put a disclaimer out here that we are not therapists. We're here to share our stories and hope that another mother that has experienced grief will get some type of hope from us and to know that God is a good God and they too can go through their journey and be okay. So these two ladies I have today, they're like family to me. I remember them I remember Nicole when she was just a baby, and Nikki, I remember her as a kid. So I'm going to introduce Lady Nicole Nichols, and I'm going to go in and allow you to introduce yourself, and Nicole Lightner. We're going to get started today, and we've talked about this and we've prayed about this, and we're going to allow God to come in and take over this podcast and take us out of ourselves and just let the flow of the Spirit move us. Lady Nicole, let's introduce you and tell us a little bit about yourself, your child, and your journey. Well, not necessarily your journey right now, but your child or your children.
No, thank you so much. And I have to say, Ms. Gail, I'm so excited to be part of your podcast. I think what you're doing here and the word that you're trying to spread is just amazing. And so I am Lady Nicole Nichols. I am the First Lady of Greater Works Center Church in Fort Mill, South Carolina. And like I said, I'm just honored to be here with you today to share my story. And hopefully in that story, I can help someone who's on their journey.
Yes, Ms. Lightner.
Hello. My name is Nicole Lightner, and thank you again, Gail Estella, for inviting me to your survival podcast. My cousin and I are very enlightened in order to be able to share our story that may not be one that is a popular one, but one that needs to be told. So thank you again for inviting us.
Amen.
Yes, and I wanted to do this, and I wanted to choose mothers that have lost their children in different ways, at different ages and different times in their life. And I want to start with you, Lady Nicole, because you lost your twins by form of miscarriage. And a lot of times mothers that lose their kids through miscarriage are often overlooked. Because, well, I don't know the logistics. I'll let you tell that, but I'm going to start with a lot of times you are overlooked. So tell us about your journey, or tell us about your babies.
And so as we were getting together and you asked me to come on, I think the immediate thought I had in my head was, okay, well, do people really need to hear that story, right? And I think for me, the answer is a resounding yes. And I talk about it a little bit in my book, Flourish, Finding the Message in the Mess. And, for me, my journey started when my son was about 5 years old. My husband and I had always said we wanted to have more than one kid. And so when I got pregnant, I was overjoyed. I remember taking the pregnancy test. First I remember saying, I think I might be, where you have I think I might be, but I'm not sure. I don't want to claim it too early. And so we went to, the drugstore and got a couple of pregnancy tests. And I think I took every one of the tests, right? Like, hey, I'm going to take them all. And all of them came back, positive that I was pregnant. And so my husband and I were overjoyed. Just super excited. I remember, a few days later calling the doctor and saying, hey, I'm pregnant and I've taken all the tests, and when do you want me to come in? Because, we're getting ready to start this journey. And so we went to the first doctor's appointment and, did all the tests, and they were like, everything is looking great. Excited for you. They even sent us home with a bag of Infamil formula and all the coupons because, all the coupons so that you can get the discounts on all the baby things. And so we were excited about that. So some time went on, and went back. It was time for heartbeats and things like that. And I remember going into the doctor's office still excited, because I think the thing that sometimes people forget is the moment that you realize or you find out that you are pregnant, you begin to make plans.
Yes.
You begin, your heart begins to attach to that child. You can see the life that you're going to have with that child. And so, you know, we were no different. You know, we even had picked out a couple of names, right? Because we were that excited. So I remember going to, you know, we were going to go and see the pictures and hear the heartbeat, and got in there and nothing. And I didn't know, like, this must be a joke, right? What? So everything was fine. Everything was just fine. And my mind immediately went to, okay, one, what did I do? Did I do something wrong? And then, you know, so we were looking at the ultrasound and all that stuff so we can see it. And we could see, you know, on this screen, but it just wasn't working out in the way, there wasn't the growth that they wanted to see. And so they told us to wait in the waiting room so that we can talk to the doctor. Now I'm in the waiting room with all of these mothers who were out there, right? Mm-hmm. And I just remember thinking to myself, oh my gosh, like, and I just could not stop crying.
How many months were you at this time?
Just about 3.
Okay.
About 3-4 months at this time. Okay. And so the doctor comes in and she's like apologizing, one, for making me sit in the waiting room with all of the other expecting mothers. Right. And then she basically tells me we've got a couple of options. And so she gives us the options, you know, like, hey, we can just kind of wait and see what happens, but this isn't going to work out. So we get home, so we leave, we get home, I'm really upset, but I finally, you know, start to calm myself down. And I remember going to work and saying, I think what might be the problem is maybe I'm not 3 months, maybe I'm only 2 months, because I wasn't sure about the conception date. Mm-hmm. And so maybe what they're saying is not what's supposed to have happened at this point. So I'm calling the nurse. I was like, well, I think I might be wrong because, you know, right, the calculation is off, so that is what's going on. Even up into, you know, the very end when you know, I had the miscarriage, I was still holding on to hope, like they must be wrong. A couple of days later, I miscarry, and then a few days after that, I immediately get sick. Now, people are telling me, well, you know, it's okay. You know, you can always get pregnant again. You know, all the things that they think you want to hear at that time. So I'm sick, and I'm rushed to the emergency room because, you know, they don't know what's going on. And so what we discover is the other child is in my tubes, and so they actually had to remove all of that. And so now, in my mind, my chances of having another child is, you know, I've lost these 2, and now my chances are cut in half. And I really went through a period, you know, after the surgery where I was just probably at my lowest of low.
Let me interject one moment.
Yeah.
Did you know at the time of the ultrasound that you were carrying twins?
Did not know at that time. Did not know at that time. You know, we thought it was, you know, it was one, and it wasn't until I got sick and had to be rushed to the emergency room that we realized that there was another child there as well.
Thank God.
Okay. So, finding out that you had 2 children that you had lost.
Yeah.
And that you wouldn't be able to have any more.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we talk about the stages, the 7 stages, and I heard you talk about denial.
Yeah. Yeah.
Was there any bargaining with God?
Oh, there was a lot of bargaining with God. You know, during all of this, you know, I kept saying to myself, like, God, if you can just, like, I'm pleading with God to, you know, to change the situation. Even when, you know, the doctor told me, you know, that I had miscarried, I'm still, like I said, running around trying to get all the proof that they were wrong. And so I am praying to God. I'm bargaining with God. God, if you can just, you know, make it change. By the time we go back, if it could just change, like if the situation can just change, I'll do whatever you want me to do, right? You know, you know the prayer. Whatever you want me to be, whatever you need me to do, I will do it if you can just change the situation for me. And so there was a lot of bargaining with God, a lot of bargaining with God.
Okay, so we're going to stay right there.
Yeah.
We're going to come back. Nicole, your story is different.
Yeah.
It is.
And this is one that we most definitely shy away from talking about, because I remember as a kid, it was always something taboo to talk about. So I'm going to allow you to tell us, were you able to name your babies?
Oh, we had names. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Zoe. We were going to, because we had always said when we have kids, we will have, a son, and we knew our son's name would be Elijah. And my husband, and I had named the next child. And so, yes, we actually had a name, plans where the child was going to sleep, how we needed to get another house so that we could make sure everybody had their own room, right?
Yeah.
So we were planning as though we were going to have a child.
Okay. So I know your baby's name, your son's name is Jay. I'm going to say is because he still lives.
J. Iris.
Yeah.
J. Iris.
J. Iris. Okay. Tell us about Jay. Tell us your story.
J. Iris, the chosen one.
Yeah.
He committed suicide. He was at school in Atlanta at SCAD, Savannah College of Art, and we thought preparing to come home. I had spoken with him, and he was going to, he was going to catch the bus home. He had means of transportation, arrangements had been made, but this time he said he wanted to catch the bus. So me being a big mommy this time, I was allowing him to catch the bus. And I spoke with him, like I said, he called me and he told me he loved me. He told me he was fine. And that was the last thing I heard from my son. I was preparing dinner, Sunday dinner, waiting on him to come home the next morning, and there was a knock on the door. I got an attitude because I'm like, why is he knocking on the door? And it was a police officer. Coming from a home of law enforcement, why is there a police officer at my door? So I opened the door, and there was a young lady there, and she asked could she talk to me. I told her no, and I closed the door.
Right.
And I went back in the kitchen and started cooking my dinner.
So did you feel something was wrong at that time?
Why is there a police officer
At my door.
at my door? I don't. That's a taboo.
Yes.
When you talk a taboo, that's a
It's a
taboo
taboo.
Yeah.
because there's no reason for a police officer to knock on my door.
Yeah.
Especially not on this good Sunday morning, I'm cooking dinner, we done been to church or whatever. So, I was rude to that. I was rude to that officer. Can she talk to me? About what?
Right.
Closed the door and went back in the kitchen. And my husband came in and he said, baby, who was that at the door? Some police officer, you better go talk to her. She asked could she talk to me. He said, what? I said, I don't know what she want. And I didn't care, y'all.
Yeah.
The timing was off. My son wasn't home. There was a glitch in my spirit. My son wasn't home. And there was a police officer at my door. I watch TV.
Yeah.
I know somebody's supposed to come, but she must be saying Jay done something. So when Pre went to talk to her, he's talking to her. I went marching to the door. Well, what has he done? What is it? What is it that you have to say to me about my son? And I wasn't prepared for what she had to say to me. I don't know if there is a preparation
Yes.
for that.
Yeah.
So my denial came in before she could even speak a word, because as a mother, my acceptance came in when I had to hear her say to me that my son was gone. Because here
Yeah.
there's an absence, regardless to how it happens. There's an absence, and so I did. I heard her, and my first thing was, "Oh God, please forgive him. Did he have a chance?" I went through my yard praying, hoping that my baby had a chance so that he could make it in, because I knew that suicide meant no. Suicide was you giving up your rights to heaven. And so I wanted to know that my baby had a chance to speak to the Father, And so I fell on my face in my yard because I couldn't do anything for him anymore. At that point, it was up to him and God. He had made a choice that mommy couldn't fix, mommy couldn't make right. And so, yes, my story was different. I've had that story as well, but this time my baby was 20, and my baby said, as yours did, "I'm fine. Mommy, I'm fine. I love you." And that was the last thing I heard from my baby.
Ooh. That's so ironic because age's last words. We had to transfer her to Charleston in lieu of getting a lung transplant. So they had to incubate her. And I asked her, I said, "You understand everything that's going on?" She said, "Yes, ma'am." I said, "Are you okay with all of this?" She said, "Yes, ma'am. This is going to save my life." And I said, "Mommy loves you." And she said, "I love you too." And so those were our last words. That she could just verbally express to me. You got to, you knew your son loved you.
Yes.
Because a lot of times, if we're going to talk about the what ifs, if we could have,
Yeah.
would have, should have,
Yeah.
we knew our children loved us.
Yes.
We had good kids.
Yes.
So you knew Jay hadn't done anything wrong.
Right.
But you just hoped it was something that
Yes.
he had done. But
Yes.
you knew the
He had
kids
had
you
a car
had.
accident a couple
Yeah,
weeks ago,
something,
so I
yeah.
was hoping that,
Yeah, but nothing
something had
bad
happened.
or any trouble,
Yeah.
because that wasn't the type of person that he was. And I
And
heard you say
hoping that
something.
was still,
Yeah, I know,
you
because
what I'm
that's
saying?
better.
At that
Yeah,
point,
I'll take
I'm
this.
hoping it's
Yeah,
something like that. Yeah.
I'll take that right now. But I heard you say something about suicide, and we were always taught that if a person commits suicide, their soul goes to hell.
Yeah.
And if I'm not mistaken, God says that there's nothing will separate me from you. No principalities, there's nothing that he can do. And what I feel or what I think I know or know is that the only sin that is not forgiven is blasphemy, not the suicide. Now, if our children don't know God, they can go to hell, because we can't pray them into heaven or hell once they're dead. And that's one thing I've always told parents, or I tell parents, we buy the Jordans, we buy the Xboxes, we buy all these things, these toys and shoes, but do we allow them to know God?
Yeah.
Do we introduce God to them?
Yeah.
Do they see us honoring and worshiping God? Introducing the relationship that they can have their own relationship with God. That when life happens at such a young age, we don't have to worry about where their soul is resting. And I'm going to go back to this disclaimer. as far as the heaven and the hell thing. And we would talk about that later. We would get more evidence on that.
Yeah.
But I think it's so important for mothers at such a young age that their babies know God.
Amen.
Oh yeah.
Amen.
Oh yeah.
Because without that, because things happen, and they have to have a relationship with God for themselves.
For sure.
They have to have a relationship with God for themselves. So let's talk about the family dynamics. You have a child.
Yes. Yes.
And you have a husband.
Mm-hmm.
How did this, or did it, affect your relationship with Elijah and with your husband, Jermaine?
Yeah. And it's interesting that you asked the question in that way, because you said, you have a husband, you had Elijah. But I think at that time, I couldn't even see any of that because I was so focused on the thing that I did not have. And so I began to feel myself disconnecting in a way. I definitely disconnected to my husband. I got mad at him because I was under the impression that we were both grieving and our grief should look the same, and therefore the fact that he was still going to church and preaching and I was still angry at God, I was mad at him too. Because you're supposed to be grieving the same way. Why I ain't seeing you cry like I'm crying all the time, and why I don't see you going through the same emotions. And so it really put a strain on our relationship, because I was under the impression that he had left me, that he had moved on with his life and left me sitting in this place of what I felt was darkness and despair. And I didn't understand that we were grieving, but we were grieving differently. Right? I couldn't understand that even though Elijah at the time was only 5, he also had anticipated being a sibling, brother. Right? Being a big brother, and understanding the impact that it had on him. But I could not see any of that because I was so focused on my own, how I was feeling and how I was moving through and how it was impacting me, that I couldn't see it. And so yeah, it was a strain on the whole family. It was a strain on the whole family, and I don't know. I can say it was nothing but God, because as I look back through it and how I even reacted to my husband, I know it was God that kept us together, because, like I said, I had abandoned all of it. There was a moment where I was going to get food for the family. It was a Saturday morning, and this is after I started to I was fine to drive. And I remember getting in that car to go get food, and I said to myself, what if I just press on the gas and hit whatever is in front of me? Because I was in such a dark place that I didn't even want to be here anymore. And just working through that, I know it took a toll on my family, because they couldn't even reach me.
How about you? How was it with your daughter? And you were newly married.
I wasn't married yet.
You weren't married at the time.
We were planning the marriage.
Okay.
Jay was coming home to get fitted for his tux for the wedding. So it was a sense of can't stop, won't stop, I think. The devil's not going to stop me from getting married, that type of thing. I didn't feel like I had to prove anything, but at the same time, I knew that Jay wouldn't want me to not. He had established a relationship with Bree, and it was okay. His letter that he left to me let me know it was okay.
It's okay.
We had spoken. I did know that he was depressed. He was going through counseling. He just didn't want to anymore. And it wasn't something that he wanted to keep talking about.
You said you were angry with God. Were you angry? And I guess your babies weren't born, but were you angry with them as well for not living?
I don't think I was. I think all of my anger was directed towards God, because in my mind, I had decided, if God wanted to change the thing, he could have changed it. And so we weren't on speaking terms. Like, we were beefing big time. And so all of my anger was directed at God. And I guess because it was directed at God, my family was kind of getting tossed in the, caught in the crosshairs. I continue to be, because at this time, I'm a first lady of a brand new church. I'm still doing all the first lady things. I'm still showing up, but I'm sitting there with this look on my face like, I don't know why we even here, but I guess I need to be here because this is what my husband's supposed to, right? This is my duty. And so I'm just literally going through the motions, but all of my anger was directed at God because in my mind, if he wanted to change it, he could have changed it. It's what I was feeling at the time.
See, I blamed me. I felt like I should have done more. I should have heard something in that I'm fine to know that he wasn't fine. I even blamed the people whose wedding reception I was at because they were already married, and I knew that they were already married, and I had talked to them about it, and we were there, and I didn't even have to be there. I should have went to Atlanta and gotten my son. And so for a couple of years, I carried that. Because, girl, I ain't even have to be there supporting you. I should have been there with my son. And so I had to not only forgive myself, my son, but also I had to forgive that young lady, and so God took a kind of a back seat because
you had others.
I had others, and I could put it in the forefront.
Right,
but the first person was myself. I mean, and because I have raised two loners, I've raised two independent young people in the house of God. Under the word, not under religion, but under the word, and knowing that they know the difference, you know what I'm saying? And so because of that, it had to fall back on me. It had to be me, because they know God. They know big God. They know little God. They know in between God. They know that God is the one that they go to. When they can't get in touch with mommy, they know.
Sorry.
I mean, so with that, no, I didn't give it to God first. I gave it to me. I was like, should have done more.
I don't think I ever got angry with God because of Aja's journey being diagnosed with cancer. It was so many times that Aja had gotten sick throughout her life that God could have taken her then. Yeah. But I knew he knew that I wasn't ready.
Yeah.
It wasn't a good time for me. And when she was diagnosed with brain cancer in 2009, the doctor said that she wasn't going to live. But she did.
Yeah.
And at the time of her passing, she was still cancer-free.
Yeah.
And I saw how the fact that I was away from work for a year, I had just bought a brand new car, I had a home, nothing went unscathed. I came back to my clientele, Aja thrived. So I wasn't mad at God.
Yeah.
But I think towards the end, I got a little angry with her because I was like, just drink the water, just walk, just exercise, do what the doctor's saying that you're supposed to do, go to pulmonary rehab and, do this, do that, do this, because in my mind I felt if you do all these small things, it's going to make you better.
Yeah.
Because I had experienced God's healing and his healing powers. So I knew for him to heal her lungs, that was easy. That was nothing.
Yeah.
And so when the doctor said it's irreversible, I was like, doctor, I don't want you to feel that I'm in denial. I hear what you're saying, but I know who God is. I know God can heal her, and God is going to heal her. Yes. She felt God was going to heal her. Yeah. So up until the time that she passed, she was supposed to be going back to school. We had made preparations to go back to school. We had, she had done her schedule, and she said she needed special accommodations. We had all this stuff planned because we knew God was going to show up and just prove everybody wrong.
Yeah.
And he didn't. And so, like I said, I can't just think I was mad at him, but there were times that I just wanted her just to just try a little bit more.
Yeah.
But she fought so hard.
Yeah.
And she might have been tired. You know, she might have been tired.
Yeah.
And I don't think I was angry with him. So let's talk about the woulda, couldas, what ifs.
Yeah.
Because we all experience those things. So tell me some of yours.
Yeah. You know, just like we were talking about with me being at the time mad at God, you know, if God had just stepped in, you know, the situation could be different. You know, and maybe if I had calculated, you know, my you know, kept track of my cycle, maybe I would have known exactly how far along I was. You know, what if, you know, it would have been great to provide my son with a sibling, because I know, you know, he deals sometimes with being an only child, and I know what it feels like to be an only child, and that was not the life that I wanted for him. What if we had you know, both of the babies survived, and, you know, at this point we would be talking about, you know, we would be planning graduations because they would be around, you know, high school age at this point in time, right? And so you think about all of those things, you know, but I think the piece for me, this happened so early in my journey to even getting an opportunity to know who God was and who God is. It's interesting for me to talk about it from the perspective of at that time, because I know now my thought process is just so different. You know, my pastor always talks about the fact that sometimes we are playing checkers and God is playing chess. And for me, that situation was definitely, I was paying attention to the small moves, not realizing that God has some major moves in store for me as a result of, you know, what I went through. And so the woulda, couldas, I think I look at it in phases. Those are my would have, could have then, and those would have, could have have turned into a little bit of praise and thank you.
Yes.
For the journey, because I'm stronger. I thought I had a relationship with God. I really got a relationship with God, right? Because, you know, I grew up in church all my life. I knew the routine and the religion of God. What I did not know is the relationship of God. And there's definitely, to your point, there definitely is a difference. And just going through that has brought me closer not only to God, but also to my son and really to my husband. There was a bond that we created once I understood what was really happening. And so my woulda, couldas sound a lot different today than they did back then.
Amen.
Nicole?
I gave you some of mine.
Do you have any more?
Let's see.
And if not, that's fine.
I might come back.
Okay, and that's fine. So do they still creep up sometimes now when you think about your babies or when you think about Jay? So what do you do to extract that from your memory? What do you do to delete that from your thinking, not to set in it too long?
And we're deleting. I'm
So
not necessarily,
what you could have done.
Okay, dealing with what I could have done. Like I said at the beginning, just trusting God, knowing that it wasn't in vain. That's what you constantly have to tell yourself. You know, everything that happens is not in vain. It's a reason and a season. We may not understand it at that time, and it doesn't necessarily have to feel good at that time, because if everything felt good, then how would we grow? How would we celebrate?
How would we fit right here?
You know what I'm saying? How would we embrace the moments? You know, you know, the times when I, you know, in superstitions, see the red birds go by. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes you cling to those moments because there are times when you need those little things. So I say that to say, you know, don't shun what somebody else grabs hold to, because that little thing on that day, it meant something to me. You know,
Right.
even, you know.
Right.
Okay, that's good. We're going to stay right there.
Okay.
Don't shun what someone else may need to hold on to.
Yes.
Have you had people come to you and say, well, why are you doing this? Or you said that you should be better by now.
Yeah.
Or the grave site. Because I know for me, when Asia passed, I went to the grave site every day. And it didn't matter what time it was when I got off work. It would be dark. And I would put my big girl panties on. I would drive through the graveyard. And I didn't have any fear because I felt I had to take care of her. I had to make sure that she was okay.
Yeah.
And I remember my parents, my mother, my father, well, baby, don't you think you're going to the gravesite too often? And someone actually messaged me through Messenger. It was another stylist. And she said, woman of God, you're acting like the pagans. Your daughter is not at the gravesite anymore. She's in heaven. My mother passed, and she went on to tell me something about how often she visits her daughter. You know, she doesn't visit her mother's gravesite. And I became so angry. And I told her, how dare you? Because you don't have a right. You don't even know me well enough. And how you going to compare your mother? I've never lost a mother. But how you going to compare your mother to my child? And I also told her, if God hadn't changed me and I wasn't a different person, I would be at your salon right now, you know, and I would have been there right now.
Right.
So we have to be careful on what people feel that they need to do for their healing, because everybody's healing is different.
Totally different.
So how often do you go to the gravesite now?
As often as I need to.
As often as you need.
I mean, there's
no rhyme or reason.
There's no schedule. It may be for 5 minutes. It may be for an hour. You know, it just depends on what's needed. I mean, and it could be months in between too. So, you know, I mean, it's not, again, on a schedule, because I know that everything I need to get from him, I can get you know what I'm saying? I don't necessarily have to go to that gravesite to get it. I go more so just to kind of check.
Maintenance, clean it.
Well, no, because I know my dad's taking care of that. No doubt that's taken care of, but, you know, just to see for myself, you know, kind of, you know, that assurance. Like you said, there was a time when I wanted to go more often, but I would stick and stay to say, okay, you know, my son's not at the grave, so why am I running down to the grave? You know, so I that was a part of my process as well. But I also embraced the fact that you always went and had beautiful flowers. You know what I'm saying? So it was like, I don't want to copy and be going and running down to the grave all the time. But I did, you know, on occasions, I was going down and putting flowers and so forth. So you do look at other people's journey and you're like, darn, am I doing enough? God, what? But that had nothing to do to say that you were doing wrong, but also to say, again, checking me, because I'm, again, making sure that I'm doing everything that I'm supposed to be doing. Am I pouring into my daughter that I still have here the way that I'm supposed to? Am I overcompensating for my daughter that I still have here? You know what I'm saying? Because, you feel like you lacked on that child that's not here anymore. And so you want to get at, you know,
make sure you get it.
But then at the same time, they're two different children. They're two different individuals. That's a male, that's a female. She's so much like my mother that it's, you know, and so she doesn't require as much as that other child may require. So you can't compare the two. You know, it's an apple to an orange. So, you know, I'm thankful that I'm able to know the difference and that I don't have to overcompensate because I just have one child here in the present.
So what about the question, because, you know, you said people said, well, you can have another child. And then did you get, well, at least you have another daughter?
Nicole.
You know, and I have to. So people mean well.
Yes.
But what
Amen.
I also had to realize that people don't know what to say.
They don't know.
They just don't know what to say. I used to, like I said, I used to even shy away from the question when people used to ask me, like, well, why don't you have, like, y'all didn't want another kid? And I used to be like, oh, well, we just wanted to be part of the One and Done Club. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't until, gosh, probably years ago that I finally started to say, well, actually, we did want another. Mm-hmm. We did want more kids. We just couldn't have more kids. We lost a couple. And just, just being transparent and saying what it is.
Getting to that point.
Right?
Getting to that point. Mm-hmm.
Right. And so just being able to say, like, this is what it is. But, yeah, I think just people don't know what to say. And it's because people try to put their expectations of getting through grief on you and what they've seen take place on you, right? So you didn't get to meet your child, so therefore you shouldn't have to grieve for your child, right?
Yeah.
In the same way, and that always used to make me go, well. It made me question me. Well, maybe I shouldn't be grieving.
Maybe I should be over it now.
Or it's a different type of grief because you didn't, so you didn't get to see all the things that we got to see or experience with our children.
And it's so interesting because I have a really smart man tell me one day that grief is just love that doesn't know where to go.
Yes.
And even like you all situations, you lost kids that you could physically see, but even in that, your grief is different.
Yes,
it's different.
Mm-hmm.
So nobody's grief is the same. Regardless of the situation is similar, nobody's grief is the same. And so, I would have people say, well, you can always have another one, so, don't even worry. Or, oh, well, at least you didn't have to worry about, the one that I really recall was, well, you're probably glad that, that you miscarried because you didn't want the child to be born and be sick and then you'd have to, go through that. And again, people just didn't know what to say, right? Because they're trying their best. That was really
I'm praying for you.
I'm praying for you.
I got to the point where I was, what are you saying?
Right. How might you be praying for me?
What are you saying? Because it gets sickening.
Yeah.
It gets to the point where they're aggravating. And like you said, they're out of love. That they mean well. Some of them, excuse me.
Yeah.
Some of them are out of love. Some of them are they want to be nosy. In my situation, this was my first time saying it. Nobody really knew. It was the whispers and the wonders. Thank you for giving me a place to say it. Yeah. But I'm praying for you.
Yeah.
How do you know what to pray for? I'm not giving you grief. You know what I'm saying? And you make sure that if you're on social media, you're not posting grief. I'm not. You know what I'm saying? Some people do, but I'm not posting grief like that.
Yeah.
But I'm wondering, what are you saying when you're praying for me? And it throws them off, but they don't realize that it throws you off when you're coming to me and I'm actually smiling right now. I'm having dinner and having a good time, or I'm out at a social gathering and enjoying myself.
They
and
rub your shoulder and they rub, baby.
Yes.
How you
doing? Be all right.
Hi, everything.
Right.
Oh, you had such a handsome son.
He's in a better place.
Oh, that's the other. He's in a better person. And and I do believe. I believe that, But like you said, when I'm in a state of I'm enjoying myself, can we not do that? Can we stay in the enjoyment? But then again, it's because they have their idea of what grief looks like, and we have made it so routine. Even the things that we say in the process, that we just kind of get into these routines. And I've had to stop people. Even when, because we're first lady and pastor of a church, when we go and talk to people and we ask the question, we don't even ask the question, how, say, I'm going to be praying for you. It's how can I support you today?
Yes.
Because if we laughing, let's laugh.
Yes.
If we crying.
Because where are you? Where are you at that point?
If we smiling, how can I help you smile today, right? So gauging and asking, how can I support you, instead of going through the routine words of, hey, how can I'm gonna be praying for you, girl.
How you feeling? How you feeling?
Because this is what they show.
How do you think I'm feeling?
This is what the
Yes.
Tyler Perry.
And then how do you express to someone how you're actually feeling? Because at that point in time, you may be feeling well, but
Right.
if we engage in this conversation, it may turn and the
Correct.
tears may fall. You
Correct.
know, so how are you going to handle?
Oh,
how
I
I'm
feel
really
like I
feeling?
just have this big hole in my heart
Yeah, you tell them.
that nothing's going to ever replace it. So what am I supposed to do with this hole?
Right.
Yeah. So you want to know how I'm feeling?
You ain't
just
a
rip
quip.
part of your heart out. And
You know, I mean, but and we're laughing about it now, and I thank God that we're able to laugh about it now.
Yes.
But people just and I can't say that I haven't been guilty, but
you
I
know
do
better
know
now.
better now.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I don't coddle people, because every time people don't want to be coddled all
Correct.
the time, y'all.
Correct.
Sometimes
Correct.
they just want you to just walk in love with them.
Yeah, just
You know what I'm
meet me
saying?
where I
That's
am.
it. Just walk in love with me. You know, yeah, because
You know, but I know for me, I don't want people not to call Age's name. You know, I don't want people to think they have to protect me. I know how to protect myself.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know, and if this brings on something,
Yeah.
I can handle it.
Yes.
Yeah.
But don't act as though
Yeah.
she didn't exist. Now
Yeah.
that angers me more
Yeah.
than anything
Yeah.
else.
Yeah.
You know, because she did exist. She
Yes,
still
she
exists
still
to me.
does.
So you can call her
Absolutely.
name. You can tell me Happy Mother's Day because
Yeah.
I am still a mother. I'm
Yeah.
not, it's not
Yeah.
I was a mother.
Right,
You know,
right.
I am still a
Yes.
mother.
Right. Well, and I've learned just over time, I've had to give people permission to do that, because again, like I said, people are going through their idea of what grief
What you're
looks
go-
like
yes.
and what they've learned over time, and they don't know me. And so, I realized, just again through writing about it in the book, which is why I think Miss Gail, you kind of knew a little bit, and why you were like, hey, can you come and talk about this? I realized by putting the story out there, one, I was freeing some people, but two, I was also giving them permission to talk about miscarriages and loss. And so sometimes what we have to do is give people permission. You can say your name, it's all right, girl. Like call her name, say age, it's okay. Because I'm still, because it's well with me. Like I said, and people have good intentions.
That's true.
Some people have really good intentions. They
Yes.
just don't know how to do it, because Tyler Perry has scripted what grief is supposed to look like
Yes,
for
and
people.
how long you're supposed
and
to
how
go
long,
through it,
right?
and all of that.
And none
Yes.
of it is scripted. Like, please, if there was a script, would you have liked
Yes,
the script?
please give it to me
But there's no
now.
script.
I'll go over it tonight.
So what grief is supposed to look like and how long it's supposed to end, or how long it's supposed to last. Does it ever end?
I'll take it just from my perspective. I don't know if it does. It's almost like saying, if you think about the definition that the smart gentleman gave me around love, that's almost saying, when does the love end? And that
And it
love,
never does. I
don't
it
think it
never
ends.
ends. And so, although I think you go in and out, that's why we talk a little bit about the process or the stages of grief. So many
functionality.
people think that it's a linear thing, and it's so not a linear thing. And so you go in and out of each of these emotions, and you may start out with, like, I was in denial and I was in anger. There are days where I think back, and sometimes I might slip back into anger, but it is definitely it's a process that don't go from beginning to end. It's kind of cyclical,
repetitious
right?
Yeah.
And that love doesn't go away. The love that I felt for those babies, I still have that love for those babies. So grief, until I can figure out what else to do with the love or make that love go away, it'll always be there.
And mine intensifies day by day.
Yeah.
Mine intensifies. Did either one of you attend therapy?
Yes, I did.
I didn't go this time. I went with the death of my mom. I didn't go
You did?
this
Okay.
time because again I rushed. Right, a month later I was getting married.
Getting married. Okay.
Yeah. And I went just because I needed to say some stuff out loud, and I kept a lot of things bottled in. It was my first time experiencing anything like this at that age, and I really needed somebody to talk to. I had an amazing family support system, but I just needed to say out loud that I'm angry. I am angry and I don't know what to do with this anger. And so I did go and talk to people. I did go and talk to a counselor. At our church we believe in prayer plus therapy. I think that God has ordained some amazing people that can do some amazing work. And so if it's the thing that you need, if it is the thing that's going to help, then go and get the therapy. Go walk in there and you can get you and sign up to go get you some therapy.
I did. I went for 5 years. When did you allow God to heal you? What did that look like? We're going to start with you this time.
Yeah.
Tell us about the healing process.
I'm still going through the healing
Still
process.
going through. When did you allow it to be okay to smile? Be okay to laugh? Be okay that anytime you thought about Jay that you didn't feel that you had to be sad?
I can't say that there was an exact moment. I can say that it is. I think it was kind of quantitative. Like it may have sifted in just like the process, but I don't know that there was a climax. Like there was a certain time or something like that it happened. But it was an awakening. It was an awakening per se. It was definitely a spiritual moment where it is that you touched and said how we hold things in as mothers, and especially me being a mother with another child that was still alive. I have, and I'm not going to say I continue to, still, you hold some of that in because you don't want to release and that other child feel like, oh, you loved them more. You loved the child that you lost more. Because I could see that from my younger child. No, there weren't any favorites, but it was known that Jay needed me more than what Niall needed me. You know what I'm saying? So with that, I released, but I released in portions. You know what I'm saying? It may have been that crying in the shower or that crying on the pillow. It wasn't the public cry. So
with the water running down on you.
With the water running, or what I did was I started gardening. I told you I was in that yard, so I was gardening and sweating and crying and praying and thanking God, and music playing and and communing with nature, and it helps. God knows you never knew why Grandmama was out there in that garden.
Oh, listen, and singing them songs, right?
What? It helps. So. There wasn't a per se a moment, but it was a season when it was that you kind of smooth your way through it. You kind of say it's okay to just holler out. I mean, because until you allow yourself to holler out, you won't ever get to move on to the next step.
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
So feeling feelings.
Yes.
Oh.
We're going to wrap up in a few minutes. Feeling feelings.
Yes.
How important is it for that mother or the mother out there that has just lost a child?
Yeah.
And they feel that they're not supposed to show any emotions, that they're supposed to be strong for everybody else. How important is it to feel your feelings?
Yeah. I'm more than happy to start. I believe you are to feel all the feels. Our feelings are an indicator. They serve like a check engine light. They're an indication that something is going on with you. And so cry, let it wash over you. Our pastor always says that tears are made of oil and water, oil for anointing and water for cleansing away. And so feel all the feels. You know, we've got this thing now in our culture where we won't name what the emotion is. We say things like, I feel some kind of way, or that made me feel the way. And what I had to learn, and just in my journey, if I can't name what that emotion is, I can't make my way through that emotion.
Yes, that's good.
That's
And
right.
so I've been intentionally working on saying, if it's shame that I'm feeling, I'm going to call it shame, because I know how to deal with shame. If it's anger that I'm feeling,
good.
I'm going to name it anger, because I know how to deal with anger. What I don't know how to deal with is I'm feeling some kind of way.
Yeah.
So I will sit in it and figure out, like, there's a great emotion wheel that I found. And so whenever I'm feeling like I'm in this place and I can't figure out what it is, I bring out my emotion wheel and I'm like, yeah, I'm feeling inadequacy, right? I'm feeling shame right now. And so let me call it this so that I know how to make my next move and how to deal with it. And so we've just been taught just over the years that we're supposed to be strong women, and strong women don't cry. We put on our
Not
capes,
alone.
we jump out of the window and we fly, right? And that could not be further than the truth. We are very strong women, but strong women have emotions. Strong women have feelings. And now in this season, this stage of my life, I'm leery of folks who don't show feeling and emotion, because I'm wondering, like, what's going on?
going on with
What's
you?
going on,
Yes.
right? And is this going to be an outburst? And because if we don't allow ourselves to feel, it's going to come out in a way that is unhealthy, and it's going to be an explosion. And so I definitely think it is important. It is super, super important to allow your feelings to be there, to let them, to don't act on your feelings, but have the feelings
Yes.
and
That's
express
good.
it.
That part.
What about you, Nikki?
Yes, it's very important to feel your feelings. It's very important to, as you said, express those feelings, but knowing how to express those feelings and whom to express those feelings to is vital. You don't need those folks that want to give you the pity party, that want to be your grieving friends. Because there are people that like to grieve. You know what I'm saying? And we have to know that there are people that like to grieve, and they like
stay in that place.
They like to stay in that place.
Yes.
So during that season, allow yourself to just be. Don't seek out that extra. That I think. Yeah.
Those other vices.
Yes.
To cover them up.
Yes.
Mask.
That's different. We talking about the people now, devices over there on another show.
And we don't even have time for
but
that.
That's another
yeah,
topic.
We can cover.
You would be surprised how the enemy will gravitate people to you. So I just gravitate the wrong people to you at that wrong time. So allow yourself to be in contact with God, and stay right there for a minute, so that he can kind of shake some things, and you know what I'm saying. The filter is during that time of grieving, the filter, the holes are real big, so you're letting a lot of stuff go through. So you got to tighten that thing up.
So God, how important is it? You said it before. A relationship.
Amen.
Because we, with our youth ministry, we talk to the kids about respect and relationship. You respect your teachers. You respect your parents. You respect God, but you also have to have a relationship with God. Relationship with your parents, but relationship with God. How important is it during the grieving process, from the beginning, when the doctor tells you this, when the knock on the door, when my baby's being put to sleep, the relationship with God, even though we're angry with him. Because we have to have a relationship with him in order to be angry with him.
For sure.
So how important, how important is it to navigate through?
Well, God, my personal homeboy. We boys. I call him by his first name. He know me by my first name. And so it is really important to have your own relationship with God. Not, I appreciate the prayers that grandma and my mom prayed to get me to this point, but I had to develop that personal relationship with him so that when I called, he knew what my voice sounded like. Because he know what their voice sound like. He didn't necessarily know what my voice sounded like at that time.
That's right.
Even though he made me and created me, sometimes I think God, God likes to hear our praise, even though he can fix the situation. We don't have to praise, but he does appreciate hearing our praise. And so I think it's super important to have that relationship with him. I don't know if without having a relationship I could have been angry, right? Because you get angry at friends.
Yeah,
you get angry
right.
at people that you know.
Mm-hmm.
And so over time, that relationship has just gotten stronger and stronger because I understand who I am in him. And that was the piece that was missing for me. Like, I had a relationship. We knew each other. Like, I know God.
Yeah, we was good.
But what I didn't understand is what he was creating in me and why he created me. I didn't understand my purpose in him. And so it is having that relationship and then using that relationship to discover, what does God want me to do?
What else?
Why am I here? And so it was that journey that we began to walk through. And it was funny because you asked the question about healing and at what point did you feel like you were healed? And you're right. Healing is a process. I think you are always working on being
the healing process began.
Where it began for me is, I was on stage. I was in the audience at Greater Work Center, and something just kept pulling me to get onto the stage. And so I get on stage and I start just exhorting. And I was wondering, like, where'd that come from? Because I'm mad at you. So how am I praising you through all this anger? It was that relationship. He was calling me, and I had to realize, because I thought God had left me, I realized he never left. I actually left him. And a good friend will allow you to leave and
come back. Come back.
And still love.
And still love you, right?
How important is it?
It is essential. Without God, I probably would have felt like I had to follow Jay.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because how did my son, like you said, I had a good child. I raised him up well. He came up not in the church, he came up in the word, so I had to question, so without God, I would have probably not been here now. Without him continuing to speak to me, I wouldn't be able to speak to you. Like I think you said when we first came in, that all of us have a reason, all of us have a purpose. Thank God that he's still unveiling that reason and that purpose. It sometimes takes a shaking in order for us to awake, to awaken ourselves. And so, I thank God for that shaking. If I can't see anything good out of that incident, I can see that God was shaking me up, to be what it is that he needs for me to be.
Okay, so we're going to go right into the next question. Amen. We're going to get ready to close. How did losing Jay make you a better person?
It made me wake up to how the world really is. You flip through the Bible, you hear different ministers, different evangelists, you hear different ones, TV, face to face. You even feel the presence of God, but until you feel the presence of God, just then you can't move forward. And sometimes us strong people have to have something powerful to happen in order for us to.
So do you think you're strong?
I am stronger now than what I was.
Yeah.
My daughter is stronger now than what she was. She has her own relationship with God. She don't have to go to church with mommy. She don't care to go to church with mommy. Baby girl got her own thing going. I mean, and I'm so grateful of that. I'm so grateful to be able to praise God with my baby now, for her to pull me in. I mean, at one point in time, we were following behind our elders.
Correct.
Because that's all we knew to do.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? This new generation now, they are leading, and we have to allow them to lead, but we have to just put ourselves in place so that they have an example.
Yeah.
That's all they're looking for is an example, and we
100%.
choose what that example is,
Right.
I mean, so yes, I am. I'm stronger now.
Yeah.
Sure.
Do I still hurt?
Of course.
Yes, yes. Y'all saw me crying, but I'm stronger still.
Yeah.
Amen.
Amen.
Do you feel you're strong?
Oh, yeah. I feel I'm much stronger. Like I said, I don't know if I hadn't gone through the experience that I had gone through, would some of the things that I've got going on right now even be a thing. Our church and the kids and the people that I get to pour into at Greater Work Center. I don't know if my pouring would have happened without me going through what I went through.
Yeah.
The writing of the book, Flourish, Finding the Message in the Mess. I don't know if that would have happened without me losing the kids, right? Yeah. Even this conference that I've got coming up in October, I don't know if I would even be thinking about creating a community of women who could come together to talk about things like this and hug on each other, right? Love on each other, who realize being strong doesn't look like I have to do everything on my own, right? That I can get help. I can seek other women who are like mine, who are racing towards their purpose, and together, if we pull together, the things that we can do. I don't know if any of these things happen without me going through what I went through. And so there is a message in the mess.
Yes.
And I think where I am today is I have figured out some of the message, because I think the message continues to be revealed, but I am figuring out much of the message that was in my mess.
And I feel I'm a stronger person because I had to take care of Asia. And I gave up my life. I gave up myself to take care of her. And I would do it again if I had the opportunity. And somewhere along the way, as long as her dreams and her aspirations were being met, I was okay with me being on the back burner.
Yeah.
As long as she was being fulfilled and she was happy. So when she passed, I thought about the type of young lady that she was. She was strong, she was brave, she was persevering, and her tenacity, her faith. And I was like, she came from me.
Yeah.
So some of these things she had to have inherited from her mother.
That's right.
So I often say her dying gave me the opportunity to live.
Yeah.
Because the things that I'm doing now, I wouldn't have had the courage to do it without first knowing her and then seeing the type of life that she lived and just how God took care of us.
Yeah. Sure.
Last question, and I'm going to give one and then the other.
Okay.
I'm going to allow you to this one. It's often said that a person dies 2 times. One when they're buried, and one when their name stopped being called. What is it that you're doing to ensure that Jay is still being alive, or that Jay's name is still being called?
Well, first of all, we have a nonprofit called Jay's Place.
Okay, talk about your nonprofit.
So that has that seed has been planted, and look forward to bringing out more information as far as that's concerned. But we want to be able to reach out to young men and let them know that they do have a place, that they do have a voice, that someone is listening. So many men just don't.
Yeah.
And
This
they
is
keep it all inside. And I know that my son was one of those. And so because of that, I felt it important to make sure that Jay's Place is established and is up and running.
Okay, and I'm going to answer the question.
Okay.
Any and everything I do is blue and purple. Blue and purple. And those were her favorite colors. The Hats for Asia campaign.
Yes.
Yeah.
I still got hats.
Yeah, that. And I knew. Okay, you can give it to me.
all year long.
But the Hats for Asia campaign, and like I say, anything that I do to honor her, anything I do, this podcast is.
Yeah. Yes.
You know, that's my way of keeping Asia's name, keeping Asia alive, and me calling her name when other parents are talking about their children. I talk about Asia too.
Yeah. As you should.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm going to ask this question, and you're going to tell us about your conferences coming up.
Sure.
Your favorite scripture.
Ooh.
A couple of scriptures that you used to help you get through where you were.
Oh, that's
your journey.
That's easy for me. It's Philippians 4:13. I can do all things through Jesus Christ, which strengthens me. That's it. That's the one that plays on repeat in my head, regardless of what I'm going through. That one plays on repeat for me.
Okay. So we're going to wrap this up, and I want each one of you to tell us about what do you have going on. You've talked about Flourish, so tell us about Flourish and tell us about your conference that's coming up.
Yeah, so, part of the healing process was me writing this book. And so I've got a book out there now. It's available on Amazon called Flourish, Finding the Message in the Mess, where we talk about, we take each letter of the word flourish and we really break down what each of them means. The F stands for feelings, so that's why I had a whole lot to say about feelings. But, too many of us often think that flourishing means that everything is going to be neat. Right. And if you look at a really lush field that's got some really beautiful flowers, the flowers are wild, and you may have patches of things. There might be a few weeds in there, too. Well, that's flourishing. Yeah. It doesn't look like this perfectly manicured row of roses and stuff. And so I'm wanting to really have women understand that, it may be messy now, but there's a message in that mess that you're going through. And so Flourish, is intended to unlock some of that, just to start to get women to think about, the message that might be in the mess, and to realize that God always has a plan. He keeps his promises. And we get to sit here and retell these stories and think back on memories so that we can say, hey, I've seen it with my own eyes, what he's able to do. And so that's the book that I read. And then, out of the book has come this event I put on every year called the Flourish Forum. And this year's event is October 26th. It's on a Saturday at Daniel Stowe Botanical Gardens in Belmont. And I'm almost sold out, but there's still a little bit of space. I was I was telling them before we got started, I think I've got like 20 spots left, which is amazing what God is doing. But what the Flourish Forum is it is a collection of women who are going through similar things, who haven't quite figured out all of the pieces of the journey, but together, if we put our heads together and we come in and we share our stories, because sometimes all somebody needs is to hear your I have done it too, or I can story, to get them inspired about what they are able to do. Right. And so Flourish, this is an opportunity for us to get together, for us to talk about the things that God has placed on our hearts so that we can get to purpose. But this year, last year we spent a whole lot of time talking about pain, and pain is, understanding the pain. This year's title is From Pain to Purpose to Power, because we get to now talk about understanding purpose, but then how do I get to power? Because I do contend that some of the things that we are praying to mountains that we should be commanding with our voice and just telling those mountains to move. And so together we're going to explore that. We're going to get some real practical tips on how to do it so that we can all flourish together. So
I'm excited. I'll be there.
Me too.
Yes. Okay.
Well, I guess I should. So if you're interested,
June 30th, I will be hosting another